Hello student, how are you? I hope you all are fine. Today we are going to discuss here one rotational problem. This problem is asked in IIT JEE Advanced 2026. So in this problem, a big disk is given here. This disk is stationary and here two disks are rolling without slipping, and these small disks having contact with the big disk, and we have to find here this disk is rotating with angular velocity, that is 2 omega, and this disk is rotating with the angular velocity, this is omega. This is given in question, and the radius of the small disk is r by 50, and small disk having contact with big disk and rolls without slipping. Find the time when disk again meet. So we have to find here this disk is small disk is rotating with omega angular velocity, and this disk is rotating with 2 omega angular velocity. So this disk traveled least path in comparison to this disk while on meeting. So suppose this disk reached at that moment, and the path traveled by this disk would be here this. So the small radius is r for disk. So this distance would be 2r. Similarly, this distance from this center would be 2r, and we know here this center of mass of this disk would be traversing in such a loop, and this is the center of mass of the small disk. This is moving in such loop. So the radius of the center of mass would be r plus r. So this is the radius, and the velocity of the center of mass for this would be 2 mega 2 mega cross r. This is the velocity for this disk, velocity of center of mass for this disk, and for this disk the velocity of the center of mass would be omega into r, and this will be 2 omega into r. So relatively we have to find here the relative velocity. V relative would be, so we this these both disks are moving, so uh, we suppose this disk is stationary, so we give in this frame of reference of this disk, so we provide the velocity of this disk, center of mass of this disk to this disk. So the relative velocity would be 3 omega r. This is the relative velocity. So by this relative velocity we have to here find the time when both disks meet again. So time would be distance travelled by the center of mass of the small disk. Distance travelled by the center of mass of small disk upon relative velocity of disk, v relative of small disk. As the big disk having no movement, and these two small disks having always contact with this big disk, and we assumed here the no gravity is here, so we put here the distance travelled by the center of mass would be, this would be 2 pi r plus r. This is the distance from the center of mass of the disk. This would be r plus r. So this would be 2 pi r plus r. But the distance travelled by both disks would be this path, this and this path, this to this. So 2r and 2r, this this distance, so this distance would be from center. Suppose this is the center of the disk and a small theta is placed here. So d theta and d theta, this portion would be reduced here. So this disk traveled only this path and this disk traveled only this path here to here. So this disk is traveled from here to here and this disk traveled from here to here. So 2 pi r plus r, this is the total distance traveled by the center of mass of the both disk, and we have to divide here minus 2 d theta here. So due to d theta would be 2r. So this circumference 2r, this is 2r and this is 2r. This is also 2r here to here and this is also 2r here to here. So radius of the small disk is r here. So this becomes 4r. 2r plus 2r, this becomes 4r. And well, relative velocity of the small disk, this would be 3 omega r. This is the relative velocity of the small disk. So we put the value here and the radius of the small disk is given here r by 50. So we put here t would be 2 pi r plus r upon this would be 1 by 3 omega and this would be r minus 4r upon r. R cancel out. So t becomes 1 by omega, 1 by omega, 3 omega, and the value of r would be r by 50. This is given, and this would be r by 50, or this would be 4. So 1 by 3 omega, and this would be 2 pi into 51 and r cancel out here, minus 4. So we take common here 51. So this becomes 51 3 omega and this would be 2 pi minus 4 by 51. This is the time. This is the time taken by the both disk when they meet again. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and this session will be improve your mental endurance. So thanks for watching this video and take care.